You have been studying sleep for how many years?
For
20 plus?
about for about 15
Oh.
years dedicated to sleep and over 20 years as a physician.
Why did you decide to really focus in on sleep?
I was a family physician for 7 years, and I realized that as a family physician, I was not trained or I was not capable of address all the sleep concerns that my patients had. And I realized that there were training programs for sleep medicine. And it's a funny story, actually. When I told my husband I wanted to do 1 extra year of training, he's, are you sure? But then he went and started talking in the stores, in the street with people and said, my wife wants to train in sleep. And everybody would tell him, well, I have this sleep problem, or I snore, and he came back home one day and he's like, go for it.
Oh, good, because clearly, I mean, gosh, it affects everybody. We all sleep.
Absolutely.
We just have different levels and quality.
Absolutely.
What do you think is the number one thing about sleep that you think people should know?
That is so important. That is so important. When I tell people you need to prioritize sleep, you need to make your family your team, you make sleep something important in your life. As you know, this interview was important for me, so I got up early, I got ready, I dressed. This is the same with sleep. Things that are important for you, for your life, you prioritize, you make a sleep routine, you know that you shouldn't be drinking or eating certain things before bedtime, you have a calming routine before bedtime. So I can't emphasize how important it is to just have that concept in your brain that I am going to make sleep a priority.
Okay, you first talked about sleeping or eating and drinking before. So let's do that. Let's talk about that first. What are certain things, or is it a time when we need to stop ingesting things?
Well, I think it's different for everybody, and I don't want to generalize because you have been here since 4 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So people have different schedules, different routines. People have children of all different ages. So as long as learn to know yourself, learn to know what kind of things are, we all know when we eat too much, too late, we all know.
Yeah.
I would say 3 hours before your chosen bedtime, definitely no alcohol, no more than 1 glass of alcohol before bedtime. And I can tell you why. We had a case report that we're going to publish of someone who has mild obstructive apnea, but after drinking several beers, the apnea index went sky high. So it affects our muscles, it affects our breathing. So I would recommend the key things is no caffeine for 6 hours before bedtime, no heavy meals that are going to be causing a heavy digestion or reflux or other issues, and definitely no more than 1 glass of alcohol.
People often say, though, I want the alcohol because it helps me relax and fall asleep. That sounds like it's actually the opposite of what it's doing.
Even though alcohol can be a little sedating at the beginning, it's short acting and the rebound is worse. So there's a couple of things that can be damaging from alcohol. One, it relaxes your muscles. And for those who drink alcohol at night or after a party, you can tell how we snore more or we even stop breathing. But after we fall asleep, also sleep is more restless. We can have more nightmares. We can have more behaviors at night, like sleepwalking or dream enactment. So there are a lot of negative consequences of drinking alcohol at night.
Okay. Let's say we're not drinking alcohol, but we are still having sleep disturbances. How do you describe a disturbance? What is a disturbance?
Literally, we as sleep physicians are open to hear about how do you sleep and what do you consider a disturbance. I think nowadays we're learning a lot from people. I think before we started the interview, we were talking about how in 1960s and 1970s, a lot of people complain about sleep disturbances, and we didn't really have the objective way of identifying movements, awakenings. And now with the technology, we have advanced so much that we can identify. So people come to me and say, different things. Some people can't fall asleep. Some people wake up through the night. Some people wake up early. And there is the difficult group of people that say, I have no problem with my sleep, but I wake up like I have been battling all night. Oh. And I do not wake up refreshed. I wake up tired. So something must be wrong. And we need to do either a sleep study, or we need to explore more what are reasons why some people do not get that restorative sleep, like you feel like refueled when you wake up in the morning.
Is that
and
how
ready
we're supposed to feel?
That's what we're supposed to feel. You're supposed to wake up and be ready to go and ready to conquer the world.
When was the last time I felt that? I'm trying to remember. It's not even on weekends many times. Is there such thing as catching up?
There is and there isn't. So as we advance in science, we're learning more how things that we learned 10 years, 20 years ago, they evolve, and we are finding more data. So when I started in sleep medicine, people would say, or we will be teaching, well, if you are short half an hour a day, catch up with your sleep on the weekend. But now we are understanding social jet lag. We're understanding that even that difference in an hour from the weekdays to the weekends can be altering your immune system and your heart, cardiovascular system, all your other functions. So the best advice is to keep a regularity, stability, a schedule that matches your internal clock, in terms of even your internal clock in terms of waking up instead of going to bed at the right time, eating at the time that your internal clock tells you. And that's why it makes it so different for each of us, that we need to start learning when is the best time for me personally to eat, to sleep, to have all the activities that match my internal clock, which is like chronobiology, which is really interesting.
It is. How do we figure that out, though? I mean, if we have to be up at a certain time to be at work or at a class, I mean, your class schedule can change, especially in college. How do you figure out what is your own internal clock?
So that is a great question. So we usually have an internal clock that tells us this is the time to eat, this is the time to go to bed, and that internal clock is adjusted by social cues.
Yeah.
But once you have these social cues adjusted, like the light and the night and the day and the activities and eating, then you are adjusted your clock just like the winding your own watch, and then that's what you respect. You follow what your own adjustment. That's why jet lag is so important, right? When we go somewhere else, when we have to adjust to the new schedule, we feel tired, we don't feel our best, even our digestion gets affected.
Right.
So we need to take precautions for those trips and the jet lag. But the same happens in a regular routine. Like we work Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends we make a completely different schedule. It's like we're traveling to Europe every weekend and changing we're having a jet lag, a social jet lag.
Oh, I wish. But okay, so let's talk about some other things about sleep. You talked about snoring. Does snoring automatically, if you say, oh my gosh, my partner is snoring, and so I'm not getting a good night's sleep, does that mean that my partner is having some sleep problems and needs to be checked out?
Yes, absolutely. So snoring is a symptom of obstructive sleep apnea. It isn't obstructive sleep apnea, but it's a symptom that is warning us that there's something in an airway that is starting to close and narrow. So an nice open airway, air goes in and out without noise. But when the airway starts closing for any reason, either the alcohol that weakens or age or other factors, medications, other things that could help, or sometimes we have an obstruction, like in children, you have large tonsils. So these obstructions narrowing the airway makes us snore to keep the airway open. And sometimes the airway closes, and it's where we have obstructive sleep apnea. But definitely we need to examine, we need to check sometimes with a sleep study, or at least check with your general doctor to see if there's allergies or something contributing to the snoring. Snoring every now and then, I think we all do, especially when we're on our back or when we're really tired. But routine chronic snoring that is 3 times a week or for more than 3 months, I think I would bring it to the attention of the doctor.
I wear a nose strip almost every night because I've noticed that if I open up my nasal passage a little bit, that I sleep all through the night. If I forget to put it on, I don't. I wake up throughout the night. And is that okay that I'm doing that?
Well, it could be. It depends. So the airway, we have the nose, we have the nasal passages, we have the area behind the tongue. So there are various parts where that obstruction could happen. If people have a nasal obstruction and then you use the strip and you stop snoring, that may be the problem, the only problem that you have. But if you continue snoring, I would recommend to have someone check.
What about, I've seen that you've written a couple of different papers on restless leg syndrome. We've heard about it maybe in ads and things. I started to feel it a couple of years ago, and I put two and two together, and I realized when my leg would twitch or it was really uncomfortable, it was because I was exhausted. Is that a direct correlation?
Absolutely. So restless leg syndrome is a very complex disorder. We don't know 100% all the physiology about it, but what we know is that there is a component of a genetic predisposition. So you have this genetic predisposition, and there are all the body of what we call epigenetics. So the things that can make it come to fatigue is one of those, sleep insufficiency is another one, iron deficiency, pregnancy, having kidney problems. So we have all of these other things that bring it up and things that calm it down. It is a very interesting disorder, and I became very interested because I worked in pediatric hospitals for many years, and I found out that children could be very restless at bedtime. And if you can see videos in social media of children moving their legs or rubbing their legs. And it is interesting how long it takes for the diagnosis of restless leg syndrome in children. Sometimes it can take up to 10 years. It goes unnoticed. And imagine you have these uncomfortable sensations in your legs that you really need to move. You're having difficulty falling asleep. You're waking up through the night. And then 10 years later, when you're finally able to verbalize your feelings, then you get the diagnosis. So I got really interested. We published from children up down to 1 year of age because of contributions of family history and laboratory workup and history of anemia. And it made a huge difference to treat them with iron supplementation. It made like day and night. For parents to really tell me that sleep was significantly better, that they slept through the night. So iron deficiency is key, and I am an advocate for screening for iron levels, both in adults and children with restless legs, with restless sleep, with any suspicion of restless leg syndrome.
Okay. Now, a lot of people wear these, trackers, track how many steps we take, they track our sleep. And so I'd like some insight on, because I never really understand, what does it mean when it says you got this amount of light sleep, this amount of deep sleep, this amount of REM. How much are we supposed to get?
So the trackers are, it's amazing. The technology has moved so fast, and I see all of these sleep devices and all of this technology as excellent tools. For us, it definitely has made the field of sleep medicine come up to awareness to the general population, having been able to see how well you slept. However, I will still take it with a grain of salt because a lot of these technologies have algorithms that we don't know. It is important to validate it against the gold standard, which is the polysomnography or the sleep study. So some of these devices are approaching the sleep labs to validate them, to be sure that how well it coordinates with what we call in the sleep study, the sleep parameters of the sleep stages. So when we do a sleep study and we actually have an EEG of your brain, and we can see your brain waves, we can calculate how much deep sleep you have, how much REM sleep, how much light sleep. So for example, deep sleep, which is the slow wave sleep, should be about 20-25%. REM sleep should be 20-25%. The lighter stages, which is N2, which is not that light, is the second light. It should be about 50%, and light sleep, very light sleep, should be only 5%. You should be in light sleep very little and then go into the deeper stages. However, what I mean is just see it with a grain of salt. Look at it as a trend more than every night. I see some of my patients that every night it becomes an anxiety because one night is terrible and the next night is great. But I would use it as a trend. If you see in your device that over the weeks, over a couple of weeks, your sleep quality is poor, your light sleep is high, your deep sleep is low, bring it to our attention. Definitely. I would like to know. I would like to help you understand why. But if you say one day is low, another day is high, maybe it can help you bring an awareness of those things we spoke earlier. How did I eat last night?
Yeah.
What did I eat? How late? What did I do? How can I improve it? But look at it as a trend more than as a night-to-night data.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. What about taking things like, I don't know, magnesium or melatonin at night? Do you ever recommend that?
I am from South America, and we use a lot of traditional medicine. My mother drinks a lot of herbal teas.
Okay.
And so I am an advocate of supporting people with traditional medicine, with their own medications, or helping them with herbal teas. However, one of the bigger issues that we have in the over-the-counter industry and supplements is that they're not regulated.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem. So the American Academy of Sleep Medicine did a study that was published, I think, in 2013 or 2012, that looked at all the products that contain melatonin. And they found products that were not really disclosed in the labels, ranging from valerian to other substances. So that is the risk. And also the dose, we do not really know, because they're not regulated, exactly the dose. So now, lately, there's been labs that are coming with a lab tested or verified dose. So I think that there is a role for melatonin to help. We use melatonin, very low doses, to regulate your circadian, but I think it should be with cautious, and definitely not chronically, and definitely not without being sure what is the problem. So a lot of times I ask my patients, well, what are you taking melatonin for? And the question is, if you're waking up through the night, what is waking you up? And if you're not able to sleep, why aren't you able to sleep? Could you be having restless leg syndrome? Could you be having obstructive apnea? Could you be having other issues, like medical issues that we're not addressing? Pain, eczema, reflux, other things that we're not addressing.
Wow.
So sometimes when we take something that is going to keep us asleep, we are masking the brain's natural protection system to wake us up, to take a breath. So just be careful. And I think once every now and then, when you're traveling or when you have a bad night of sleep, I've taken melatonin when I have to wake up at 5 in the morning or at 4 in the morning to give a talk, and I want to go to bed at 8 at night. It's helpful. But when it becomes chronically, then check with the doctor.
What do you say to patients who toss and turn and just can't get to sleep? Maybe it's just because we can't turn our brains off. We keep thinking, but what is your advice to the toss and turn?
Well, my first advice is that we have a lot of data already published into the factors that help sleep. Cool environment, dark light. I remember I moved from Seattle, Washington to sunny, beautiful California. And from the time when I moved, I started waking up at 5 in the morning with a bright sun. So I started reading that actually wearing the eye masks is very helpful. And it's proven scientifically that it helps. So it has to be silk and it has to be adjustable so you don't mark your skin. So look for these things that we don't really think. Is your bedroom a sleep promoting environment? Is it like when you see your bedroom, do you really want to go to sleep? Or is it really piled up and it is messy and it is dusty and it is not really helping you feel that relaxed and promoting sleep? So starting from the basics of your bedtime environment, of the things that make you more comfortable, cool environment, dark, all of those things. And the other thing would be stress. Are you comfortable? Are you tossing and turning because you have restless legs? Or are you tossing and turning because your bed partner is snoring? Or, I think it's our job to be really the researcher in this case.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I have a family member who swears, I can only sleep and fall asleep on the couch. What do you say to that?
I say that's science. And I'll tell you why. Because our brains are programming computers. So what happens, and I'm going to talk to the parents here for a second, because a lot of parents have this question. If you rock a baby to sleep, that baby is creating these little brain connections. It's like a little computer. So all of these connections are being built. So rocking, sleep, and you cannot get out of rocking the baby to sleep. And the baby wakes up to the night, you have to rock them back to sleep. So what happens with those parents, and we call it sleep association insomnia, is that your brain builds an association with whatever makes you sleep. And then it's sealed. But it's not sealed forever. We can break those associations. And what with methodologies called extinction methods, we call them, we break them little by little. Okay. So if you sleep on the sofa, then maybe make it a sofa bed, or flatten the sofa, or sleep flat and don't sleep sitting up. So that could be the association with the sofa, with the bed position. But it could also be, do you mean that you're sleeping in a sofa because you need to sit up and you can't breathe?
Oh.
So there is a couple of things there.
Okay.
If you are comfortable because you love this sofa and it's the cushy and all of that, and you have built that association, we can break it little by little. But if you tell me that you need to sit up in the sofa because if you lay down in a bed, you choke or you can't breathe, then we need to treat that.
Oh shoot! You just said something and now I forgot.
The babies.
Yeah, tell me more about I mean, that was hard, getting our kids to sleep, and then even after, they were babies, toddlers. I remember my mom used to say, "Oh my gosh, how much water can you drink?" Because I would wake up, "Mom, I want water." It's like, please.
I've heard that saying, "I slept like a baby." Somebody said to me one time, "Whoever says I slept like a baby does not have a baby."
That's a good point.
But so to be fair to babies, they are training their circadian clock. So the first 6 months of life, they're training. They're learning light, day, night, feeding cycles. Sure. So they're training their brain. So the first 6 months we give them as this is your opportunity to really train. And I have a lot of parents that have come to see us to learn how to really be sure that they're doing everything correctly so the baby is trained to sleep correctly. Now, starting at 6 months, then we start to see certain patterns that we can help. Helping the baby sleep alone independently means that you put the baby, you can cuddle and you can rock, you can breastfeed. We encourage to breastfeed, but place the baby in the crib or in the bed awake. A little bit sleepy, but awake.
And what if they cry? And that whole thing of you have to let them cry?
Well, you can pat them,
okay.
You can touch them, you can rub them, and little by little, slow that until the baby learns to self-soothe to sleep independently.
Okay. I just remembered what I was going to ask you about. Naps. Are they good?
For babies, for children.
No, I meant for an adult. But
So there's a lot of cultural influence about naps. I remember I traveled to Spain one time and everything was closed from noon to 4 for nap time. But then dinner is at 11 o'clock at night. So it's a whole different schedule of circadian clock. Yeah. For us, we would say if you do not nap, if you have a regular sleep schedule of at least 7 hours, you're an adult, and you do not nap, going back to feeling like you have to nap is a warning sign of something not being correct, like you're not really getting enough sleep or enough quality of sleep. If you have to nap because your schedule calls for it, if you have to wake up at 3, 4 in the morning, or if you wake and your schedule is interrupted, then it becomes part of your routine, and that's a different.
All right. Yeah. Some people on this shift, not me, but others, they kind of sleep in spurts, fits and starts. What about menopause? We often hear that when women are going through menopause, they're having their body is going through a lot with their temperature and not being able to sleep well. What do you say to that?
Yeah, we, for many years, studies have shown that women, again, had a lot of issues with sleep, but the objective data that we had at the time didn't really reveal. They revealed that the sleep time was the same, the sleep efficiency was the same, and we just published a study at our sleep center that showed, we studied 1,444 people, and it was roughly 740 and 704 men and women, and all ages, adult from 18 on. And what we saw was the group of 51 on had a deep, deep decline in sleep quality. And it was really eye-opening for us because we have known for years that women know these symptoms, that the sleep is not restorative, that they wake up through the night. And now we're showing it that it was amazing. So if you see the line, sleep declines with age in men steadily as men get older, but in women it declines steadily, but when it gets to 50, 51, it drops significantly. So our hypothesis was too many things. Hormones definitely play a role. Some sleep disorders increase the risk of obstructive apnea, restless legs, stressors. There are a lot of components, but hormones definitely play a big role with menopause, exactly at the age of 51 for sleep quality to drop.
Like on the clock. So
exactly.
Women should really talk to their doctor?
Yes, and be aware if you're feeling tired, because we women, we just like, oh yeah, I feel tired, but I want to keep going.
We're used to it. We keep
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So be cognizant. You could have a sleep disorder. You could. We could improve your sleep quality in many ways and give you tips and help you. So just have awareness of this happening and bring it up to your doctor or to a sleep physician. We have sleep physicians that are specialized, like me, that's specialized in identifying sleep disorders.
Is that covered by insurance?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your message to people who are having sleep issues and just keep letting it go?
Don't let it go. I have many patients that have become aware of sleep issues and they come to the clinic. I want to live not just healthy, not just longer, but also optimistic, happy, high quality of life for family, for yourself, for the rest of your life. So don't let it go. Optimize your sleep. Make it a priority. Nowadays, there is no area in the body that hasn't been proven to be affected by poor sleep. As we started with this conversation, we sleep 1/3 of our life is sleeping. So our body, our brain, our organs are doing all of these functions at night. Our memory, our mood, everything is processed during our sleep. So don't let it go. If you feel like you have poor sleep quality, don't wait another day. Educate yourself. Look for this signs for improving your sleep hygiene, your sleep environment, and be aware of sleep disorders. Talk to your doctor and learn. There are websites also from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. It's called sleepeducation.org, and it's directed to the public to learn about sleep disorders, sleep quality, and contact us. We're here for you.
Thank you, Dr. DelRosso. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it for the opportunity to share such an important topic that is a passion for me and is pretty much my life. Thank you.
All right, that's it.
All right,
Thanks.
Great.
Hi, I'm Monty Torres with Fox 26 News on YouTube. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel, where we have loads of great content for you to choose from. And while you're here, why not click on the subscribe button right here? That way you can stay in touch with all the latest breaking news, everything news related within the Central Valley. And thank you for watching.